This is S&M Radio. I am Shannon. As always, my buddy Mark is joining me.
Good evening.
So this episode, we are going to talk about a movie that we discovered at Flashback Weekend that we both attended earlier this year. Well, actually, like 3 weeks ago, I guess.
Man, it seems like it was just yesterday. That was so much fun.
So one of the things that we had talked about while we were at Flashback Weekend was because all these vendors are selling DVDs and VHS movies, and we actually saw a couple of people had laser discs. I think probably even a couple other formats were available in some form or another. But we had decided let's find a movie amongst all this clutter and that neither of us have ever seen, and we'll just go into it blindly, and we'll each get a copy. We'll take them home, and we'll watch them, and then we'll talk about it. So that's what we did, and we found a movie called The Deadly Spawn, or a.k.a. Return of the Aliens Deadly Spawn.
Yeah, I like that, how they did that. You know, actually, when I first heard about this movie, I was just a little kid, and I remember walking into the local mom and pop video store, and they had the VHS version where they called it The Return of the Aliens, The Deadly Spawn. It's clearly they were just trying to get people to think that it was somehow related to Alien, and it's not. Yeah, going back to that VHS box, that original cover I remember was gory as hell. There was like a severed arm and blood everywhere, and oh man, it was quite disgusting.
Yeah, even the DVD case that we got kind of is reminiscent of those old VHS boxes in the video store in the horror section. I mean, I think we both got the same cover on them. So it's got the monster from it, and it's got like this guy clawing out of the earth in front of the monster. It's not really gory on the front, but then if you look on the back, there's a face that's like been skinned, and it's missing an eyeball, and there's like down to the bone, and there's a bunch of teeth, and then there's another one where like ripping a head off of a body, and it's fairly gory.
Oh yeah, extremely gory cover. And this is one of those back in the the 80s when these type of movies were clearly not huge hits or anything in the theaters if this one even made it to the theater. So they had to rely so much on the the box art at the video store for people to get in to be interested in these, and boy, they really delivered on this one. But even the new DVD special edition that we bought, pretty cool artwork.
Yeah, so this movie came out in 1983. I think when it first came out, they were really kind of hoping to go off of the success of Alien. Aliens, of course, hadn't come out yet at that point. So this movie is fairly short, clocks in at right around the 80-minute mark. I guess we can go ahead and jump right into it. So the one thing with this movie that was kind of a letdown, unless the actual creature that is the focal point of the movie wasn't on screen, the rest of the movie is mind-numbingly boring. The acting was atrocious. It's all these people you don't know, you never heard of, you'll never see after the fact. The whole thing starts off with these guys are camping somewhere, and they see this like meteor crash down, and then of course they're like, "Oh, let's go check it out." And so they go over to where the meteor crashed in the woods, and they're like, and then for whatever stupid reason, the one guy's like, "Oh, I forgot the flashlight." So he goes back to the tent, and then the other guy comes, or doesn't come, but he stays and he's checking it out, and he gets attacked sort of off screen, so you don't really see anything, and then you see like a hand like flop down, it's all bloody. And then the guy is back at the tent, and he's like coming out of the tent, and then again, kind of off screen, gets attacked, and you see some like blood squirt out of the tent. And so my initial thought when I first started this, and this happens like within the first like 2 minutes of the movie, was, it's going to be one of these movies where you don't actually see nothing. Everything happens in the shadows. But then we get a couple more minutes into the movie, and then you finally get your first glimpse of the creature. then it's just full on gore every time this thing is on screen. So that part of the movie was great.
It's pretty crazy. This movie's actually got a pretty big cult following. A lot of people, remember seeing it on cable or whatever. It's one of those movies where it was just a couple of people and filming this movie in a house and very low budget. I don't know how much money this movie made, but it couldn't have been, they couldn't have spent that much on this film. I mean, the acting is bad. Acting's pretty terrible. Like you said, you have a hard time getting through the character scenes, but yeah, anytime that monster's on screen, it's very entertaining. And all, that first, well, I guess it would be, the first kill was pretty intense with the guy who goes down into the basement, and it's like you see the shadow, but then you see like the blood splashing on the light bulb and all that stuff, and then his wife goes down, and that was pretty intense, where she gets her basically gets skinned, and her face gets eaten off, and then the scene with the electrician going down into the basement, that was pretty gory as well. But yeah, anytime you see this monster, they really go all out with the gore. And that's really how you have to see this movie as. It's just one of those classic early 80s B movies, where it's a lot of gore, a lot of blood and guts, a lot of effects, a lot of severed limbs and that kind of thing. But yeah, don't take it seriously.
One of the other similarities that maybe you could say that it had with Alien is that after that initial sequence in the woods or at the wherever it wasn't really a campground. I don't think it was a campsite. This creature ends up in the basement of this house. Pretty much the rest of the movie occurs in that house and in the basement of that house.
It starts out in the basement and moves up to the attic.
So there was one three-headed creature. They didn't really explain what these other little wormy things were, if like it was laying eggs or if it was just like they were like coming out of it, or if they did explain what it was, I completely missed it.
Well, I think that was the spawn. I think it was like just kind of laying eggs or whatever. I think it was just like the babies or whatever. And it didn't really explain how that was happening because there was only one monster, but I'm guessing it was some sort of the more the more it reproduced or something.
One of the great things about this movie, there was a couple of decapitations. Then they kept going back and like later on would show like the severed head at different stages of dismay, if you will. So a face would get ripped apart and then they'd go back later and then more of the face would be ripped apart.
Yeah.
They'd be chomping on different things. And at one point the monster was like actually like just like gnawing on a head. So
yeah, there was a lot of that stuff. And again, this is like if you're a lover of early 80s gore, monster movies, movies like Basket Case, movies like Chud, this movie is right up your alley. I mean, this is, again, bad acting, lots of gore, lots of good special effects, just fun, cheesy special effects.
If you haven't ever seen it before, I would highly suggest, if you can find it, check it out. If you want to see lots of gore, there's really nothing else to really promote it other than the gore factor.
Yeah, you're not going to promote it on the storyline, and you're definitely not going to promote it on any of the actors because I think they probably all went back to working at Kmart or whatever when they were done with this movie. It's funny because this movie kind of opened up a door to me, like of wanting to like dig out some of those really weird movies that were out back in the day that you can't find anymore, and that you have to go to a convention to find again, or look on Amazon or whatever, some bizarre website that has them. But this is one of those goofy, off the cuff kind of films that actually kind of enjoyable if you like monster movies. One thing I thought that was kind of cool was I thought the ending was pretty cool with the kid. And again, we're going to probably give away some spoilers here, but in the 80s, they always had like some kid who was into monster stuff, and of course the main character kid in this movie is like, he has masks and all kinds of different monster things in his room and toys and whatever. So he's the one who saves the day. And I thought it was kind of a funny scene with he has some kind of like was it a firework or dynamite or some kind of thing he uses to create. Was it a magic trick? I'm forgetting now.
He had this like prop head thing, and he like rigged some sort of explosive into the head. And remember, it had a cord on it. So
That's right.
So one of the things with the monster in this movie is this, which I thought was a little odd, was these monsters can't see, and evidently they don't have a sense of smell either. So they go off of sound, and the kid that we're talking about figures that out relatively early on, because he has several different interactions with this monster throughout the movie, and he gets away from it by like throwing a flashlight or throwing a shoe or something up against another wall, and then the monster's like, "Oh," and goes over and checks it out.
Yeah.
So he rigs this prop head of his up. He has this cord on it like he took from a lamp or something. And he's trying to plug it into an outlet that's conveniently right there. But of course, it's like a foot too short. So he's like pounding on the floor, trying to get the monster to come just a little bit closer.
That's right. I knew it was a very awkward ending. Like we had the cords hanging out of its mouth, and yeah, it's really awkwardly filmed. Like you can tell, like they're doing their best to kind of accomplish the final scene with the death of the monster, and it's just not working out very well. But they do it, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, and one of the other things with this movie that was a little odd was after the kill of the main monster, the adult monster or the parent monster, whatever you want to call it, is that there was all these little spawn things that had escaped the house. And so after they tricked the monster and it ate the prop head, and they finally got it plugged into the wall, and then it blew up. It goes on for a couple more minutes, and you can see all these people from the town and stuff, for neighbors and locals and things, going around and killing all these spawns, like burning them off and stuff. And then the other weird thing was, at the very end of the movie, right before it breaks for credits, everything seems all peaceful and stuff, and everybody's like, yay! Kind of odd to me. It like switches from this live action movie to all of a sudden like claymation. Very reminiscent of the sandworm in Beetlejuice.
Yes.
To where all of a sudden this house next to this hill next to the house like lifts up, and then you reveal that there's this gigantic spawn or monster.
Yes. Yeah, that was a very strange ending. I was not expecting that. I thought it was funny because every time they showed that shot of the house, like it always like, there's a painting we're looking at. You could tell it wasn't real. There was something very off about that shot. And they showed it at the beginning of the film too, like when they were kind of setting up the location of the house, and then they went right into the interior shots. But yeah, that was pretty funny. I thought that ending was pretty crazy. So what would your recommendation be in terms of the Deadly Spawn? Would you recommend this one?
I would recommend it. I would not highly recommend it, but I would recommend it. How about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I would recommend it for those of you who are into early 80s horror, but I would definitely not say this wouldn't be a high recommendation. And certainly if you're not into early 80s horror, I would definitely probably say that you probably won't enjoy this. But if you like monster movies and gore, I think it's right up your alley.
And so here's what I'm going to do. If anybody sends us an email, writes us a Facebook post, leaves us a voicemail, I will mail out my copy, it has been previously viewed, of The Deadly Spawn to you as this episode's giveaway.
Wow.
Yeah, and you guys will get all the contact information after me and Mark say goodnight. But yeah, like I said, feel free, give us some feedback. To say, hey, I listened to your show, I liked it. I told my buddies to listen, or I listened to your show, it sucked, and I made my in-laws listen to it because I hate them. I don't care. Just let me know, and send you the DVD. All right, everybody. Deadly Spawn, kind of a sort of 3/4 thumbs up. Unless you're talking about the acting, then it's 2 thumbs down.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. Take care, everybody, and enjoy your Deadly Spawn.